I was having all sorts of doubts about how to begin this, what story to share this program. And so I really felt like I needed some inspiration. And it might kind of sound odd, but I thought, what better place to get inspiration than a fortune cookie, right? So a couple weeks ago, I'm preparing, and I decided to order in Chinese, and I eat my meal, and I get to the most exciting point, the fortune cookie, and again, I'm having all these doubts, and I open up the cookie, and I kid you not, it says this: any doubts you may have will immediately disappear. And I immediately thought, I doubt that. So much for that really being helpful for me. But after kind of debating and thinking about it, I decided I want to share this story with you to begin the Come Alive experience that I think kind of illustrates what we're going to talk about today. So I want to take you back about 6 weeks ago. It was just one of those beautiful summer days in Illinois. It was a Saturday. And I was really excited because I was going to a concert in the evening. And it was a band that I'd never seen before, so I really couldn't wait. So I'd done a bunch of different activities outside, and I was doing everything that I needed to do. And it was a couple hours before the show. And so I come inside the house. And I walk inside the house, and it was really odd because I heard this noise coming from upstairs. And my wife was gone, so there shouldn't have been anyone in the house, and so I was kind of feeling a little confused and maybe even a little scared. So I walk up the steps, and then I hear that the sound is actually coming from my office. And I notice that the doors are open just a little bit. So I walk into my office, I open up the door, and there I see a squirrel throwing itself against the outer doors, trying to get outside of the house. Now, if you've never experienced a squirrel in your home, let me explain that it's a scary experience. It's not something that's real comforting. And I guess I wish I could tell you that I really responded like a man. Like, I wish I could be up here and say, well, I went to the squirrel, and I grabbed it by its tail, and I brought it outside, and I released it, and, it was a great story. I think it's more appropriate to describe my reaction. It was kind of similar to, like, a pre-adolescent at a Justin Bieber concert. I mean, I was screaming at a pitch that the decibel only local dogs could hear. And so I go running out of the room, and not thinking, by the way, that would have been a really good idea would have been to close the doors. Because as I go running out of the room and open the doors completely, our friend here, Rocky the squirrel, goes running with me. So at the time, I didn't think about this at the time, but after the fact, I decided to Google, how do you catch a squirrel in your house? And this is literally like the first step, to use a live animal trap. And I thought to myself, well, that would be great, except for the fact that when I go to Walmart to do shopping, I'm not looking for sales on live animal traps, right? They're not kind of just hanging out. So, that wasn't going to be real helpful. And then I thought to myself, well, I am a psychologist, and so maybe I could try to talk to this thing, like one of those horse whisperer stuff, right? And but it kept running back and forth, and I'm trying to tell it seems like you're feeling trapped in your life. That didn't work either. And so finally, I call my father-in-law, and he comes over, and we're running around and tripping and falling over things. I think we broke more than the squirrel did. Finally, though, the good news is the squirrel got out of the house. But I think in reflecting on this, and there were two things that I learned from this experience with Rocky the squirrel. The first thing that I learned was I would not have survived during the caveman era. Right, if I can't really, take care of a squirrel, lions and tigers and things like that, I probably would not, I just wouldn't have survived. But the second, and I think this is most important and like what I want to talk about today, is how fear can really make us do goofy things. Or let me put it this differently, how fear and doubt can really get in the way of us doing what's most important to us, of living effectively. Because if I would have slowed down and thought about it, like I said, I probably would have closed the door to the office instead of now having a squirrel running all over the place. And by the way, can I tell you that squirrels can get in the smallest of places? I mean, but again, I think it really helped me realize, again, how fear can really get in the way. And I think, to me, what's a benefit in terms of the work that I do, I really find it a privilege in terms of being a psychologist and working with the population that I do, and just because people start to share their stories with you. And I don't know about you, but I don't know if you ever feel like it seems like everybody else really just has it together sometimes. Like they're not struggling with doubt or fear or worry. They seem so confident. And I'm the only person who's struggling with this. And what I found in my work as people start to talk to me and kind of open up and sharing their story with me, you start to see, wow, I think all of us in some way or another struggle with fear, struggle with doubt, right? It shows up. It can really get in the way of where we want to go. And so that's what I want us to do with the Come Alive experience, that this was all about. Is, okay, let's talk about what is meaningful to us, what is fulfilling to us, and how can we pursue those things. But before we do that, we kind of have to recognize what is it that gets in the way. And I really believe, from my experience, from research, from talking to people, that many times it is fear, it is doubt. And so I want us to talk about that and think about that. But it was really curious to me, because as I'm doing some research and preparing this presentation, I came across an advertisement that I want to share with you that I think really highlighted how, as a species, we've been struggling with fear and doubt for a really long time. And actually, sometimes I think to myself, if we really had figured this thing out, we'd only need one self-help book instead of like 500, right? But so I came across this ad that I wanted to share with you and read. And again, I thought it was very interesting. So you might not all be able to see it, but I'm going to read what it says. It says, "How are your nerves? Few are those today who have not been face to face with the jangled nerves that our modern high-speed life is blamed for. You know the signs: tenseness and irritability, feelings that are hard to control. Check up now on your habits that may cause jumpy nerves, the way you eat and sleep, your work and play, and get a fresh start on smoking by making Camels your smoke." Now, what I find most interesting about this ad is that it was actually created in 1934. Okay? 1934, what I love about this, within that context, let me read this line again. "Few are those today who have not been face to face with the jangled nerves that our modern high-speed life is blamed for." Now think about that, 1934. How much faster, how much more high-speed, high-paced is our life right now? And yet in 1934, they were having the same experiences and same struggles with nerves, with fear, with doubt. And I'm going to argue that we actually haven't gotten any better at dealing with that. I mean, reflect on all of the amazing strides, inventions that we've made since 1934. Right? It's amazing. But in terms of dealing with fear and doubt and worry and anxiety, I might even say we've gotten worse. I mean, every year it seems like we're giving more and more antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, so it seems like we're doing worse. Well, how in the world could that be? I mean, why is that? And I think the reason really comes down to how it is that we try to deal with our thoughts and feelings. You see, as people, we're great at problem solving, aren't we? I mean, that's really what separates us from the animals, is our ability to use our language. We're not the fastest, not the strongest, not the biggest, but we're able to solve problems, right? We're able to identify problems and solve them. We're good at it, right? We like to do it. We like to come up with the solutions. And just to kind of give you an example, you'll see on your handout there, and I'll read it. What I want you to do, I want you to turn to the person next to you, and there's a real short riddle here. Okay, some of you may know this one, some of you may not. What I want you to do, turn to one another and try to figure out this riddle. But as you're doing this, just kind of watch your mind work. Watch as you're trying to solve this problem and all the different ideas and how you go about solving this problem. Okay? So we're going to turn to a partner and read this here. It should be on your handout. Just take a minute and then solve the problem with each other. All right. So we figured out? What's the answer? Okay, right. The doctor is the mother of the child. Good. Okay? The doctor is the mom. Okay? So whether you got it or didn't get it, I think it's just, again, recognizing this process. We like riddles. We like problems. And I think, again, in general, we're pretty dang good at solving problems. I mean, when you think about it, that's kind of what a conference is all about. You have people who are coming, presenting on things maybe they first identified as a problem, and here's the solution. I'm going to share the solution with you, and you can take that back. So again, this is something that we do so well as human beings.